Hey guys, this is Nikki and welcome to How to Make an Esports Game Part 3. If you missed Parts 1 and 2, annotations on the screen and links down in the description. I'd recommend watching those ones first.
Your objective is to find and kill assigned targets. Avoid being killed by other players.
The background gameplay for today is going to be a little bit of Wanted on Newark Brewery, and I was trying to get some fresh new gameplay for you guys to watch today, but unfortunately this kept happening. I mean, that happened to me 6 times today. I played 6 games and every single time I got dropped into limited mode, which is a problem because I can't get a full 10-minute gameplay if every single time I'm rejoining a game that's already started. So I dove into the depths of my hard drive to get this game, which is a few months old, but I think still is pretty enjoyable to watch. Anyway, let's summarize what we talked about in the first 2 episodes first. Number 1 is that there is a lot of money to be had in the esports market. It's a growing thing. There are lots of spectators. Lots of spectators means developers are going to get more people buying and playing their game, more money for them. That's why we should be interested in esports, which was the topic of part 1. The topic of part 2 was game balance and game dynamic. AC3 has some abilities that are used almost all the time and some abilities that are absolutely never used at all. And this is a problem because we need a strong metagame. There need to be several strategies you could use to win the game and several different counters to those strategies. That makes it interesting to watch and shoutcast. Now I want to talk about the gameplay for a second. Right here I'm going to get throwing knife by my pursuer. I'm going to panic for a second and throwing knife an NPC that was walking towards me, and my pursuer is going to OSB me from across the map, poison me, and I'm going to land a 450 stun right here with my stun and streak, and he gets 400 for this kill. Originally I was pretty mad that I got offensive smoke bomb because that really takes no skill to do and it's a really douchey thing, but I got 50 more points for that guy. I used 1 ability and he used 3, so I feel like I came out of that confrontation with the advantage right there. Anyway, the point of part 2 was AC3 needs to have a strong and diverse metagame. Now, the topic of part 3, which we're finally going to be getting into, is a bunch of miscellaneous things that aren't necessarily gameplay related but can help promote a game towards esports. Now, esports isn't all about the players, which was the main focus of last episode. It's also about the spectators who help the players pay the bills. Spectators need to have a fun time watching the game, and all successful esports games have some sort of shoutcasting or spectator mode. Now, shoutcasters should be able to talk live over gameplay in this shoutcaster spectating mode, obviously, but the spectators also need to be able to see all the information on screen. They need to see which team's winning, who has more kills, who has abilities ready, things like that. They need to have all this information easily accessible to them, and as a shoutcaster myself, it would be a lot more convenient if we could switch from person to person. If someone's not doing anything interesting or they're respawning, we could switch off to a different player and we could show what they're doing and have more action to talk over. I mean, that's the core of an esports game right there, is to be able to make it convenient for people to watch and make it convenient for shoutcasters to talk over. Because while gameplay can be convenient to watch, gameplay commentaries like this, shoutcasting over, it's a completely different thing, and we need a completely separate mode for that, to where we could switch players and just see all the action. Similarly, it would be really nice if this man's face would make contact with the wall, but it would also be nice for esports games to have some sort of theater mode. It opens up a lot of creative avenues for people who make content on YouTube, because then we could do montages with dubstep and dynamic map editing and all that cool stuff. And it also is important for esports people because I can't name a single Assassin's Creed team, or most teams actually probably don't have 4 players who all own PVRs or recording devices, so it's important for them to be able to all sit together, watch from everyone's different perspectives, and figure out what went right in a strategy or what went wrong, and they can help plan out their next moves, tweak the ways they play the game, and be able to watch everyone synchronize up together in a theater mode. And with the next generation of consoles coming up pretty soon, there should be no excuse as to why we can't incorporate these modes. I don't know too much of the specifications on everything, but I'm sure the next gen consoles are powerful enough to be able to add these modes into most games. And moving on, we also need some pretty good matchmaking. The Assassin's Creed multiplayer has never had good matchmaking by any standards. We need to be able to have a 4-man team stay on a 4-man team for the duration of however long they're going to play. And also, we need this to not happen. I have no idea how this happened, but it just needs to not happen again. Anyway, AC3 AC4's matchmaking really needs to get his shiz together. The main problem I have with it is incredibly difficult to keep a 4-man team together. Either someone gets disconnected or put on the other team, and I know they intend to put the person on the other team and switch them back to your team after the game, but that very rarely happens. If I have a 4-man party, I want to stay with that 4-man party. I want to play with these people, practice with them. Most of my effort should be going into developing strategies and actually practicing with these people, and not wasting time sending them invites and screaming at my TV because the matchmaking isn't working out for me. But I do understand the main reason matchmaking doesn't work, or people are put on the other team, or you aren't put in the game mode that you wanted, is because they have a very small pool of players to select to put you with in games. And that could change with esports. We could get more people playing the game. Matchmaking inherently will get better because more people to pull from, less lag. Be playing with people who are probably closer to you. More people are going to be populating every game mode. That's just another reason we should be running AC3 with esports. Anyway, let's talk about game modes for a second. First off, we're going to start with FFA modes: Deathmatch, Wanted, and Assassinate. I'm not too sure how free-for-all modes would work in the esports community, because if you look at any esports game, it's usually a team effort, people coordinating with each other. I'm not sure if free-for-all modes could work in esports. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Deathmatch, so I would really be excited if free-for-all modes became competitive, but as they are right now, I'm not sure how they would work, how people would shoutcast over them. Maybe they'd get 8 really badass deathmatch players together and drop them into a match. I'm not too sure how that'd work. If it did, then AC would be the first game to ever have a free-for-all mode, or a mode where it's 1v1v1 and it's 8 people just going at each other. That would be really hectic and actually pretty fun to commentate. So if they did manage to get an FFA mode into the esports community, then they would be the first ones. Next up, let's talk about the team modes. We have Domination, Manhunt, and Artifact Assault. Manhunt and Artifact Assault are pretty good esports potential game modes. They just need a few tweaks here and there, but I can definitely see those there. Domination, I'm not too sure about. I really like that game mode, but we don't have a ton of people backing it up. So as it stands right now, Assassin's Creed really only has 2 out of 6, and I'm not counting Simple Deathmatch. Artifact Assault and Manhunt, which are good for esports potential game modes. The more the merrier, though, if we could get at least 3, because if you think about it, people are going to be playing to the best 2 out of 3 or the best 3 out of 5 in most esports games, so it would be nice to see a variety of game modes. And also, more game modes means teams need more strategies, more practice time, more diverse plays, which means it's even more interesting to watch with multiple game modes. So hopefully in AC4 we'll see at least 3 game modes, if the FFA modes don't count, that are viable for competitive play. Now, similar to having a bunch of diverse game modes, we also need a bunch of different maps. One to cater to the different playstyles. We could have roofing maps for teams that are very runny, or things like Fort Walcott where there are no roofs and it's more stealth based, lots of civilians everywhere. We also need a bunch of maps for different kinds of playstyles, but it's also important because if you're playing to the best 3 out of 5 and there are only 6 maps out of the game, at the very least you're going to see 3 out of the 6 maps. And for a spectator, that might get kind of boring. You only see the same 6 maps all the time. So it'd be nice to see that number go up a little bit, especially if they played to a best, say, 4 out of 7. If they played up to the very last match, you're going to be seeing every single map in the game. And just watching that over and over again is going to get kind of boring. So at least, it's nice that they have the day and night stuff going on, but it would be much better if we had a bunch of different maps. They could just release the DLC maps to everyone, because those 3 maps I've only played on like once each, because that playlist is completely empty. So DLC maps are cool too, but we need to get them incorporated into the full game, because like if you look at Black Ops 2 for example, I don't see the DLC maps being played at all in competitive play. So releasing the DLC maps free to everyone may change that if they decide to release AC4 with only 6 maps. Overall though, we just need to kick up the map count from 6. And probably the biggest tip I have to any game developer on how to make their game an esports game is to have developer run tournaments. We had the COD Championships a little while back, and that was huge. They had it in this huge arena, lots of fancy flashing colors everywhere, tons of spectators. We talked about in the first episode how esports is becoming bigger than TV. That's how you get people to buy your game, and that's how you push towards esports. You run developer run tournaments, everyone can come together. It's like sports, everyone's backing up a team, spectators, bunch of people up on stages, just going at each other for huge cash prizes. That's how you generate views and attention to your game. Assassin's Creed did do this once. It was at the Abstergo Invitationals. I believe it was only in Europe though, and they haven't had anything since, which was a really good idea. I watched a little bit of it, and well, I want one to come to the US, mainly because there are a lot of Assassin's Creed US players, but also because I'd like to shoutcast that. That'd be pretty awesome if they flew me out there and I could talk over a mic and be like, yo man, that guy just got stabbed in the face. If I could do that live in front of a bunch of people, wear like a really nice suit, that would be cool. But developer run tournaments, man, you can get the shoutcasters out there, you get a bunch of players, people love their players. I know my favorite COD player is JCap from Team Envious. I know the players. People are willing to back up players, people are willing to back up teams, And people even might decide to start their own Assassin's Creed team to go out and get that $500,000, or even if it was like $2,000, $1,000, $500. I would go out, as long as it was local and travel didn't cost that much. I would go out to try to win a $200 tournament. Or, I mean, even if I got a sticker, if you would give me a sticker for playing in a tournament for Assassin's Creed, as long as it didn't cost me too much to go out there and bring my team, I would be willing to do that. Overall though, since developer-run tournaments are much larger scale than local ones, that would bring everyone together. You have the spectators watching from home, you got the shoutcasters, you got the players. Everyone comes together in a developer-run tournament, and that's what would really push Assassin's Creed towards esports, is if we had more Abstergo Invitationals all over the world. Anyway, that's all I got on how to make an esports game. I hope you guys learned something from all the knowledge I was dropping. I tried to make this as objective as possible so the knowledge is nice and pure, and there's a little bit of opinion here and there, but hopefully you guys enjoyed the entire series. If you didn't watch the last two, I'm going to stick them in the outro. Thanks for watching. Please help me spread this around a little bit because I worked really hard on this series, coming up with the research and all the little points. You got absolutely everything in a 3-part series, so if you want to help me spread the playlist, I'm going to stick that down in the description. Help it reach to the developers as well, or anyone you think in the competitive community who would like to hear this. And thank you guys for watching. I've been Nikki from StealthShampoo, the Shoutcaster and Machinima Respawn. That series is going up soon, and if you guys want to leave a comment, I will be reading through all of those if you have a question. Thanks once again, and I will see you all some other time.